You people need to leave! The white administrator's voice slices through Westfield Academy's marble hall, causing heads to turn. Security doesn't allow random outsiders wandering around. Amara Taylor, 16, black, stands frozen as embarrassment burns across her cheeks. Students stare. Whispers erupt. "Sir, I'm just," she begins, voice steady despite her racing heart. "I don't care what excuse you've rehearsed," Blackwell sneers, stepping closer, finger pointing at her face. "People like you don't belong in these halls unless you're emptying trash cans." Amara's phone vibrates. She answers without breaking eye contact with her accuser. "Hi, Dad. Yes, I made it to your office." Her voice rises slightly. "Actually, your vice administrator is demanding I leave immediately." Blackwell's face drains of color. The power in Blackwell's voice evaporates as sweat beads on his forehead. He's made a catastrophic mistake. 16-year-old Amara Taylor approaches Westfield Academy's imposing entrance early Saturday morning. The prestigious private school stands eerily quiet compared to weekdays, with only a few weekend activities scheduled. Sunlight glints off the polished brass nameplate, announcing the institution's 125-year legacy of excellence and tradition. Amara adjusts her simple t-shirt and jeans weekend clothes for a quick errand. She needs to collect materials from her father's office for a family event later today. Her steps echo through the grand entrance hall, confident and purposeful. From his office window overlooking the entrance, Vice Administrator Gerald Blackwell notices the teenager immediately. His eyes narrow behind wire-rimmed glasses. Blackwell, 53, has worked at Westfield for only 8 months, yet he prides himself on maintaining what he calls appropriate standards for the elite institution. His custom-tailored suit and meticulously knotted tie project the authority he craves. "Another trespasser," he mutters, watching Amara through Venetian blinds. "These local kids keep trying to use our facilities without permission." Without knowing anything about her, Blackwell has already categorized Amara as an intruder, an outsider, a problem to be eliminated. Amara walks through the hall, pausing to admire a student art exhibition. Her phone chimes with a text message from her father. "Office unlocked, blue folder on desk has everything. Love you, sweetheart." She smiles, typing back a quick, "Thanks, Dad," before continuing toward the administrative wing. Meanwhile, Blackwell checks the security schedule on his computer. No visitors registered for Saturday morning. He straightens his tie in the reflection of his computer screen, a ritual that reinforces his sense of position. A small smile plays across his thin lips as he stands. "Time to maintain standards," he says to himself. Rather than calling security, he decides to handle this personally. He enjoys these moments, the power of determining who belongs and who doesn't. Amara reaches the administrative wing entrance, facing a heavy door with an electronic card reader glowing red. She reaches for the visitor phone mounted beside it, prepared to request access as she's done many times before. Before her fingers touch the receiver, the door swings open from inside. Gerald Blackwell emerges, blocking the entrance with his body. His eyes sweep over her dismissively, cataloging her casual clothes and youthful appearance. His judgment is immediate and absolute. Blackwell's bias has already sentenced Amara before she speaks a single word. "Excuse me, young lady. This area is restricted to authorized personnel only." Blackwell's voice carries deliberately across the hallway, ensuring a passing teacher hears his intervention. Amara offers a polite smile, unfazed by his tone. "Good morning, sir. I'm just here to pick up some materials from—" "Unless you have a visitor's pass or student ID," Blackwell interrupts, gesturing at her empty neck where the lanyard should hang. "You have no business in this part of the building." His emphasis on business carries a clear implication. "If you'll let me explain," Amara tries again, maintaining her composure. "My father—" "Your father," Blackwell cuts her off again, eyebrows rising dramatically, "should know better than to send you here unaccompanied without proper authorization." He inspects her casual weekend attire with visible disapproval, lips pressed into a thin line. Amara straightens her posture, smile fading. I was about to call for access. Her voice shifts from friendly to serious. My father works here, and I have his permission to... Blackwell releases a short, dismissive laugh that echoes against the marble floors. And I suppose your father is a board member? His eyes sweep over her again. Or perhaps the groundskeeper? The emphasis on the latter option hangs in the air, laden with assumptions. Ms. Winters, an English teacher with arms full of weekend grading, slows her pace nearby. She glances uncomfortably between Blackwell and Amara, hesitating momentarily until Blackwell shoots her a sharp look. She continues walking, shoulders tense. Amara takes a deep breath, counting silently as her mother taught her when facing difficult situations. Actually, sir, if you could just... I don't have time for this, Blackwell declares, checking his watch with theatrical emphasis. This is an elite institution with protocols in place for good reason. He leans slightly closer. We can't have unauthorized individuals wandering around claiming relationships with staff members. Amara's phone vibrates in her pocket. She reaches for it instinctively, but Blackwell holds up his hand like a traffic officer. I suggest you leave the premises now, he says, voice dropping to a practiced threat. Or I'll be forced to call security to escort you out. His posture shifts, blocking the doorway more completely. Every word Blackwell speaks digs his professional grave deeper, though he doesn't know it yet. Blackwell positions himself squarely between Amara and the administrative wing entrance, shoulders back, chin lifted. His body language radiates intimidation as he invades her personal space, forcing her to take a small step backward. Perhaps you're confused about which school this is, he announces, voice deliberately loud as another administrator passes by. This is Westfield Academy, not the public school down the road. Each word drips with condescension. The flush of heat rises from Amara's neck to her cheeks, but her expression hardens into composed determination. Sir, I know exactly where I am. If you would just listen. No, you listen, Blackwell interrupts, pointing his finger inches from her face. I'm the vice administrator here, and I know everyone who belongs on this campus. His eyes narrow. You clearly don't. The heavy door to the weekend study lounge swings open down the hall. 5 students emerge, conversations dying as they notice the confrontation. Blackwell registers their presence with a quick glance, his posture straightening even more. In fact, he continues, raising his voice to ensure they hear, I think this is a teaching moment for our actual students. He gestures toward the onlookers with a sweep of his arm. This is what happens when proper protocols aren't followed. Amara feels the weight of every eye on her. The burning in her cheeks intensifies, but she holds her ground, jaw tight. Sir, you're making assumptions without... I'm making observations based on evidence, Blackwell interrupts, tapping his temple with his index finger. No visitor pass, inappropriate attire, and an inability to state your business clearly. His voice sharpens. Now, I'll ask once more before I call security. Why are you here? One of the watching students, a girl with long braids and glasses, steps forward hesitantly. Mr. Blackwell, I think she's... Not now, Olivia, Blackwell snaps, without breaking eye contact with Amara. This is an administrative matter. Amara's phone rings loudly from her pocket, the sound echoing in the tense silence. The screen displays Dad as she pulls it out. Blackwell's hand shoots forward. That's completely inappropriate. Give me that phone. His fingers reach toward it. Amara steps back quickly, keeping her phone away from his grasp. You have no right to take my property. On school grounds, I have every right, Blackwell declares, voice rising with frustration. Now hand it over, or you'll make this situation much worse for yourself. The students watch wide-eyed as Amara deliberately maintains eye contact with Blackwell while answering the call. Hi, Dad. Yes, I made it to your office. Her voice is clear, steady. Never breaking her gaze from Blackwell's face, she adds, "Actually, someone seems confused about who I am." Blackwell's expression shifts subtly. A flicker of uncertainty crosses his features, followed by the first hint of realization. The color drains from his face in stages, like water seeping from a cracked vessel. "Mr. Blackwell seems very concerned about unauthorized visitors," Amara continues into the phone, her voice gaining strength with each word. The watching students exchange glances as they witness the exact moment Blackwell's absolute certainty begins to crumble. "Who exactly is your father?" Blackwell asks, his voice notably softer, uncertainty replacing the previous authority. He takes a half step back, straightening his already straight tie. Amara holds up one finger in a wait gesture as she continues her phone conversation, her newfound power evident in her posture. "Yes, Dad. It's Mr. Blackwell, the Vice Administrator." Her emphasis on his title carries a subtle edge. "He was explaining school protocols to me quite thoroughly." The watching students move closer, sensing the dramatic shift unfolding. From Amara's phone, an authoritative male voice carries just loud enough for Blackwell to hear. "I'll be there in 5 minutes. Don't go anywhere." Amara ends the call and meets Blackwell's gaze directly. "My father, Dr. Taylor, will be here shortly. He asked that you wait." The transformation in Blackwell's demeanor is immediate and complete. His face cycles through expressions, shock, disbelief, calculation, and finally, poorly disguised fear. "Dr. Taylor is your father? The Principal Taylor?" He releases a forced laugh. "Why didn't you say something immediately?" "I tried to tell you several times," Amara replies evenly. "You weren't interested in listening." The gathered students exchange glances, a few with poorly concealed smirks. Whispers circulate between them as they witness Blackwell's predicament unfold in real time. Olivia, the student who attempted to intervene earlier, approaches Amara with an apologetic smile. "I'm so sorry about that, Amara. I should have spoken up sooner." Blackwell overhears this exchange, the realization washing over him that others recognized Amara while he did not. His embarrassment transforms into desperate damage control. "There's been a misunderstanding," he announces loudly to the gathered audience. "Everything's fine now. Please go about your business." His hands make shooing motions. The students reluctantly disperse, but not before exchanging knowing looks. Once they're out of earshot, Blackwell turns to Amara with a manufactured smile that doesn't reach his eyes. "I apologize for the confusion. If you had mentioned your father's name right away..." "Would it have mattered?" Amara interrupts quietly, her question hanging in the air between them. Should it matter? Before Blackwell can formulate a response, Amara steps away and pulls out her phone again. She dials a number, turning her back to him. "Mom?" she says softly into the phone. "Something just happened at Dad's school." As Amara recounts the incident in low tones to her mother, Dr. Lena Taylor, a prominent civil rights attorney whose name Blackwell would certainly recognize if he heard it, she makes a silent promise to herself. This won't be brushed aside, not just for her sake, but for anyone else who might face similar treatment without having a principal for a father. Meanwhile, Blackwell retreats to his office, door clicking shut behind him. He slumps into his chair, mind racing through potential explanations. His fingers fly across his keyboard, crafting a carefully worded email to his ally on the board, Mr. Phillips. Subject line, "Minor misunderstanding with principal's daughter. Context needed." He hits send, already constructing a narrative where he was simply doing his job, enforcing protocols that apply to everyone. The story he's crafting, however, has one fatal flaw: multiple witnesses who saw the truth. Behind closed doors, Blackwell doesn't realize he's planted evidence of his own prejudice in a time-stamped email. Dr. James Taylor strides through Westfield's main entrance, his weekend casual attire doing nothing to diminish his commanding presence. Unlike Blackwell's performative authority, Dr. Taylor's quiet confidence reflects 15 years of educational leadership and genuine respect from the community. He finds Amara waiting outside Blackwell's office, scrolling through her phone with deliberate casualness. When she looks up, her father's concerned eyes meet hers. "Are you okay?" he asks softly, placing a gentle hand on her shoulder. Amara nods, straightening her posture. "I'm fine, Dad." Her voice drops to ensure privacy. "But this isn't right, and I don't think it's the first time he's done something like this." Dr. Taylor's expression darkens momentarily before he composes himself. "Let's find out what happened first." They enter Blackwell's office without knocking. The vice administrator jumps to his feet, anxiety poorly masked behind a strained smile. "Dr. Taylor, thank you for coming. There was an unfortunate misunderstanding with your daughter." Dr. Taylor remains standing, his silence a powerful tool. "I'd like to hear exactly what happened, Gerald." Blackwell gestures nervously to the chairs across from his desk. "Please sit." Neither Taylor takes a seat. Sweat beading at his hairline, Blackwell launches into his sanitized version of events. "I was simply following security protocols when I encountered an unidentified visitor." He emphasizes Amara's casual attire and alleged failure to identify herself properly. Throughout his explanation, he strategically omits his specific comments and assumptions. "I hope you understand that I was acting in the best interest of the school," Blackwell concludes, folding his hands on his desk to hide their slight tremor. Dr. Taylor turns to his daughter. "Is that what happened?" Amara recounts the full interaction with clinical precision, including Blackwell's comments about "people like you" and his insinuation about the groundskeeper. She delivers these facts without emotion, which makes them all the more damning. Blackwell's face flushes crimson. "That's not exactly, I would never, she's misinterpreting my tone." Dr. Taylor raises his hand, silencing Blackwell mid-sentence. "Were there witnesses?" "Several students and Ms. Winters saw most of it," Amara confirms. Dr. Taylor nods once. "I see." His measured voice carries more weight than any shout. "Gerald, we'll continue this conversation on Monday with HR present. This is serious." As they exit Blackwell's office, Dr. Taylor's phone buzzes. He glances at the screen, a text from board member Phillips asking about the incident Blackwell mentioned. Dr. Taylor's expression hardens. Blackwell is already attempting to control the narrative. The digital trail of Blackwell's damage control efforts will become his most damning evidence. Monday morning arrives with a tension that hangs in the administrative wing like storm clouds. Dr. Taylor arrives early, his usual morning greetings to staff noticeably more reserved. He walks directly to the Human Resources office where Ms. Rodriguez, a veteran administrator with 20 years at Westfield, awaits him. "I want to know if there have been other incidents," Dr. Taylor states, closing the door behind him. Ms. Rodriguez hesitates, fingers tapping nervously on a manila folder. "Nothing officially reported, but..." She slides the folder across her desk. "I've noted some concerning patterns in student and staff feedback." Inside, Dr. Taylor finds several anonymous comments from the school's quarterly feedback system. Individual remarks that might seem minor in isolation form a disturbing pattern. Blackwell's different treatment of minority students and staff, higher scrutiny of disciplinary issues based on race, dismissive tone with certain parents. Nothing definitive enough for action on its own, but collectively, the pattern is unmistakable. Across campus, Amara sits in a quiet corner of the library with her mother, Dr. Lena Taylor. Unlike her husband's measured calm, Lena's eyes flash with controlled anger as she reviews her daughter's written account of Saturday's incident. "We should file a formal complaint," Dr. Lena states, her legal mind already cataloging violations. Amara looks up from her notebook. "It's not just about me, Mom." Her voice carries a maturity beyond her 16 years. "What about students who don't have parents working here? Or parents who don't know their rights?" Dr. Lena studies her daughter with newfound respect. "You're absolutely right. This is about systemic issues." Meanwhile, Blackwell paces nervously in the empty boardroom, waiting for his ally, Mr. Phillips. When the board member finally arrives, Blackwell's relief is palpable. "Thank you for meeting me, Robert. I need someone who understands the pressures of maintaining standards here." Phillips' expression remains neutral. "Tell me exactly what happened, Gerald." "It was an honest mistake," Blackwell insists, palms spread wide. "The girl was dressed like any teenager from the neighborhood. How was I supposed to know?" Phillips frowns, removing his glasses. "That's exactly the problem with your defense, Gerald. Why would it matter how she was dressed or where you thought she was from?" Blackwell falters, sensing his support slipping away. "You know how these things get blown out of proportion these days. Everything becomes about race." Phillips stands abruptly. "I think you should focus on your meeting with James in HR and be careful about what you say next." 3 more teachers have come forward with their own stories about Blackwell, breaking years of silent complicity. The conference room's tension is thick enough to cut with a knife. Dr. Taylor sits at the head of the table, his calm demeanor contrasting with Blackwell's visible discomfort. Ms. Rodriguez from HR organizes files beside him, while Mr. Hoffman, the school board's attorney unexpectedly requested by Blackwell, reviews notes with practiced neutrality. Blackwell adjusts his tie, projecting confidence he doesn't feel. "I appreciate this opportunity to clear the air about Saturday's misunderstanding." "Before we discuss Saturday," Dr. Taylor replies, sliding a folder across the polished table, "I'd like to address these other incidents that have come to light." Blackwell's face pales as he opens the folder, finding documented complaints from teachers and staff. His fingers trembling slightly, he flips through the pages. "These are unsubstantiated allegations. Why am I just seeing these now?" "They were reported through proper channels," Ms. Rodriguez explains, voice professionally even. "But the individuals feared retaliation." Mr. Hoffman glances up sharply at the word retaliation, making a note on his legal pad. Across campus, in the quiet corner of the student commons, Amara sits with 5 students who witnessed Saturday's confrontation. Their hushed voices occasionally rise with indignation as they compare experiences. "I should have said something sooner," admits Olivia, twisting the end of one braided lock around her finger. "But Mr. Blackwell always makes me nervous." "Why is that?" Amara asks, her notebook open before her. Olivia exchanges glances with the others before continuing. "The way he treats certain students differently." "My friend Jamal got detention last month for being disruptive when he was just asking questions in advanced physics. When Bradley does the same thing, Mr. Blackwell calls him inquisitive and engaged." The other students nod in recognition, a dam of silence breaking as they share similar observations. Back in the conference room, Blackwell's professional veneer cracks. He stands abruptly, chair scraping against hardwood. "This is clearly a coordinated attack on my character. Dr. Taylor is using his position to make an example of me because of a simple misunderstanding with his daughter." Mr. Hoffman winces visibly at this accusation, a reaction not lost on Dr. Taylor. "This isn't about my daughter, Gerald," Dr. Taylor responds, voice remaining measured. "It's about a pattern of behavior that contradicts our school's values of inclusion and respect." Blackwell's knuckles whiten as he grips the back of his chair. "I won't be subjected to this witch hunt. I have emails from parents praising my commitment to maintaining Westfield standards of excellence." "What exactly do you mean by standards?" Dr. Taylor asks pointedly. Blackwell freezes, realizing his mistake too late. "I meant academic standards, of course." Unknown to everyone in the room, the next person about to walk through the door will change everything. A sharp knock interrupts the tense standoff. The door opens without waiting for a response, and Dr. Lena Taylor strides in with purposeful grace. Her tailored charcoal suit and confident bearing command immediate attention. She carries a leather portfolio embossed with her law firm's insignia, her expression professionally neutral, yet formidable. "I hope I'm not interrupting," she says, though her perfectly timed entrance suggests otherwise. Blackwell looks between Dr. Taylor and the newcomer, confusion evident. Who is this? Why is she here? Dr. Lena Taylor, civil rights attorney, and my wife. Dr. James Taylor introduces her with quiet pride. She's here at my request. Blackwell turns to Mr. Hoffman, desperation creeping into his voice. Is this appropriate? Having family members present at a personnel matter? Before Hoffman can answer, Dr. Lena Taylor places her business card on the table with a soft tap. I'm here in my professional capacity, Mr. Blackwell, as counsel for several Westfield students and staff members who have experienced discrimination. The revelation lands like a thunderclap in the small room. This isn't just about Amara anymore, it never was. What Blackwell doesn't know is that Dr. Lena Taylor has been quietly consulting with families from Westfield for months, documenting a pattern of inequitable treatment that the school board wasn't fully aware of. Mr. Hoffman straightens, suddenly more alert. Dr. Taylor, Lena, I wasn't informed that you're representing parties in this matter. My involvement became official yesterday afternoon, she responds, opening her portfolio with methodical precision. Since Saturday's incident with my daughter, 7 students and 4 staff members have come forward with formal statements about their experiences with Mr. Blackwell. She slides documents across the table to Mr. Hoffman, who reviews them with growing concern, his earlier neutrality dissolving with each page he turns. Additionally, she continues, voice steady and relentless, I've obtained copies of disciplinary actions over the past 8 months, showing statistically significant disparities in how infractions are handled based on students' racial backgrounds. Blackwell half rises from his chair. That's confidential school information. How did you get access to that? Through proper legal channels, she responds without missing a beat. As part of an ongoing civil rights investigation that began before the incident with my daughter. Blackwell sinks back into his chair, the full weight of the situation finally hitting him. This isn't just about his job anymore. It's potentially a legal matter with serious implications. Meanwhile, across campus, Amara has organized a meeting with the Student Diversity Council in the library's media room. 20 students from various backgrounds sit in a circle, sharing experiences they've previously kept to themselves. What happened to me happens to others in different ways, Amara explains, carefully avoiding mention of her parents' professional involvement. And I want us to document these experiences so they can't be dismissed as isolated incidents. A student named Tyler raises his phone. Is it okay if I record this? Just the audio for accuracy? Amara nods. That's actually a great idea. As students begin sharing their stories, a powerful narrative emerges, one of systematic, subtle discrimination that has gone unchallenged for too long. Back in the conference room, Dr. Lena Taylor delivers the final piece of evidence. She plays a short audio clip from her phone, a faculty meeting from 3 months ago where Blackwell discussed maintaining the school's legacy and made thinly veiled comments about changing demographics, threatening the school's reputation. This recording was legally obtained by a teacher who felt uncomfortable with these comments, she explains. It was a public meeting with no expectation of privacy. Mr. Hoffman closes his folder with finality. I think we need to adjourn this meeting and reconvene with the full board present. Blackwell, now pale and visibly sweating, looks desperately between the 3 professionals. This is a setup. You've been building a case against me all along. No, Gerald, Dr. James Taylor says quietly, standing to signal the meeting's end. You built this case yourself, decision by decision, comment by comment. We're just making sure it's finally heard. The 2 Dr. Taylors exchange a brief glance of professional satisfaction mixed with personal vindication. Their daughter's humiliation has catalyzed a long overdue reckoning. As they gather their materials to leave, Blackwell remains seated, staring at the table surface, his carefully constructed professional identity crumbling before him. Everything he's worked for balances on a precipice, and he has no one to blame but himself. The Taylors have laid their trap perfectly, but even they don't realize how many others are ready to speak out. The emergency school board meeting is scheduled for Wednesday evening, leaving 36 hours for tension to build throughout Westfield Academy. By Tuesday morning, the administrative offices buzz with hushed conversations that stop abruptly when doors open. Teachers exchange meaningful glances in the faculty lounge, taking measure of where colleagues stand. In classrooms, students sense the undercurrent of adult anxiety. Rumors spread, growing more elaborate with each retelling. Blackwell's getting fired. The principal's daughter recorded everything. There's going to be a lawsuit. Amara attends her classes with composed dignity, neither confirming nor denying the whispers that follow her through hallways. During lunch period, she meets with the Diversity Council in an empty classroom. "We need to be strategic," she tells the group of 15 students. "This isn't about revenge or drama. It's about making permanent changes to the system." Olivia, now fully committed to the cause, distributes a draft petition they've created. "We're calling for a complete review of the school's disciplinary practices and hiring policies," she explains. "We need signatures, lots of them, to show this matters to everyone." By Tuesday afternoon, the petition has collected over 300 signatures, including those of several teachers who've decided they can no longer remain silent. The document spreads beyond the Diversity Council, gaining momentum like a boulder rolling downhill. Faculty members find themselves taking sides. In the Science Department lounge, Dr. Matthews defends Blackwell with surprising vehemence. "He's strict but fair," Matthews insists, stirring his coffee with unnecessary force. "These kids are too sensitive nowadays. Everything becomes a racial issue." Ms. Winters, who witnessed the initial confrontation with Amara, finally finds her voice. "I saw how he spoke to Dr. Taylor's daughter before he knew who she was. There was nothing fair about it, Robert." Her hands tremble slightly. "And I'm ashamed I didn't speak up then." The school's long-standing culture of conflict avoidance is fracturing under pressure, forcing uncomfortable conversations into the open. Local media catches wind of the situation by Tuesday evening. Though they don't name Amara due to her age, headlines appear online. Discrimination allegations rock elite Westfield Academy, and civil rights investigation at prestigious prep school. The school's communication director's phone rings constantly with requests for statements. Wednesday morning, Blackwell arrives at school to find his electronic access card deactivated. The security guard at the entrance calls the administrative office, avoiding eye contact. "I'll need to escort you to collect personal items from your office," the guard explains awkwardly. "Director's orders." In his office, Blackwell finds a letter signed by the board chair informing him of administrative leave pending the board's decision that evening. As he packs family photos into a cardboard box, the magnitude of his situation finally penetrates his defensive shell. His hands shake as he removes his academic credentials from the wall. In the principal's office across the hall, Dr. James Taylor meets with Ms. Abernathy, the board chair, a respected former judge with 30 years on the bench before joining Westfield's leadership. "This goes beyond one administrator," Dr. Taylor explains, showing her the comprehensive report they've prepared. "We need to address the systemic issues." Ms. Abernathy reviews the documentation with a jurist's practiced thoroughness. "This is compelling and disturbing evidence, James, but I should warn you, some board members are concerned about the school's reputation if this becomes public." "Our reputation should reflect our actual values," Dr. Taylor counters, leaning forward. "Not just the image we project in brochures." Meanwhile, Dr. Lena Taylor has converted a conference room at her law office into a command center. She meets individually with families who've come forward, presenting them with options. "You can join a potential lawsuit, file complaints with education authorities, or work with the school on meaningful reforms," she explains to each family. "But before we discuss strategy, I want to ask, what outcome do you want from this?" The answers form a consistent pattern across different families: accountability, systemic change, and assurance that future students won't face similar discrimination. "We don't want money," explains one father, his hands clasped tightly. We want our son to walk through those halls without being treated like he doesn't belong. That evening, the board meeting begins at 7 in Westfield's wood-paneled boardroom. All 13 members attend, some clearly uncomfortable with the situation. The meeting quickly moves into executive session, closed to the public. Blackwell and his attorney present their case first. They argue that isolated incidents have been exaggerated and taken out of context by overly sensitive students and parents with political agendas. Mr. Blackwell has dedicated his career to maintaining academic excellence, his attorney emphasizes. His record speaks for itself. When the Taylors present their evidence, the clinical precision of their documentation silences the room. Security camera footage from Saturday shows Blackwell's aggressive body language. Email records reveal his different responses to similar situations based on students' backgrounds. Statistical analysis demonstrates clear patterns in disciplinary actions, data points that individually might be dismissed, but collectively paint an undeniable picture. Board member Phillips, once Blackwell's ally, removes his glasses in distress. Gerald told me this was about a misunderstanding with the principal's daughter. This is, he gestures at the evidence spread before them, systematic. The deliberations continue for hours, voices occasionally rising behind the closed doors. Teachers and a few dedicated parents wait in the hallway, checking their watches as the clock ticks past 10, then 11. After midnight, the board reaches its decision. Ms. Abernathy emerges first, her judicial composure firmly in place despite the late hour. Mr. Blackwell's contract will be terminated, effective immediately, for violation of the school's non-discrimination policies and creating a hostile educational environment, she announces to the small crowd. Additionally, the board has unanimously committed to an independent audit of all school policies and practices related to diversity, equity, and inclusion. The news spreads quickly via text messages and social media. By morning, the entire Westfield community knows. Reactions split predictably. Relief from many students and families of color, shock from some who believed Blackwell's strict approach was appropriate. Quiet satisfaction from faculty who had chafed under his arbitrary authority. As they walk to their car after the marathon meeting, Ms. Abernathy pulls Dr. James Taylor aside in the empty parking lot. "We've been complacent for too long, James," she admits, her professional mask slipping to reveal genuine regret. "This isn't just about firing one person." Dr. Taylor nods, exhaustion evident in his posture. "It's about changing a culture, and that's much harder." "Yes," she agrees, looking back at the imposing building silhouetted against the night sky. "But it's the only work that matters." The Taylors arrive home after 1 a.m., finding Amara still awake, waiting for news. The three embrace silently in the kitchen, a family united by purpose rather than just blood. "What happens next?" Amara asks finally. "The hard part," her mother answers honestly. "Making sure this leads to real change, not just consequences for one man." Amara nods, understanding the difference. One is justice, the other is transformation. Both are necessary, but only transformation prevents the need for future justice. The institution has removed one problem, but the deeper question remains. Will Westfield Academy truly change, or merely perform change for public approval? 2 weeks after his termination from Westfield, Gerald Blackwell sits stiffly in a government building downtown. The State Education Licensing Board convenes in a sterile hearing room. Nothing like Westfield's wood-paneled elegance. 5 stern professionals review documents behind a raised panel, their expressions unreadable. Blackwell's attorney, an expensive specialist in employment disputes, argues passionately that Westfield overreacted to satisfy political pressure and protect themselves from negative publicity. This dedicated educator's 15-year career shouldn't be derailed by misunderstandings and the current climate of hypersensitivity, the attorney insists, gesturing to Blackwell's thick portfolio of recommendations and awards. His record of academic excellence speaks for itself. Across the room, Dr. Lena Taylor represents several Westfield families. Her presentation contrasts sharply with the emotional appeals of Blackwell's counsel. She methodically presents evidence, timestamps, and statistical analyses. Her voice remains measured, never rising for emphasis. "This isn't about politics or climate," she states plainly. "It's about documented harm caused to real students through patterns of discriminatory behavior that Mr. Blackwell has never acknowledged, much less addressed." The licensing board chair, a veteran educator with 30 years of experience, studies Blackwell directly. "If you encountered a similar situation today, how would you handle it differently?" Blackwell straightens his tie, seizing what he perceives as an opportunity for redemption. "I would verify the visitor's identity more thoroughly before taking action, especially if they claim a connection to school leadership." A board member with silver-streaked braids leans forward. "So your concern is about avoiding mistakes with people who have connections, not about treating all visitors with equal respect, regardless of their appearance or presumed status." Blackwell's mouth opens, then closes. He stumbles through a clarification that only worsens his position, revealing he still doesn't understand the fundamental issue. Meanwhile, at Westfield, Amara works with the Student Diversity Council and 2 faculty advisors to draft recommendations for the school's new inclusion policies. Their document reflects hours of research into best practices from schools nationwide. The independent auditors hired by the board review their draft with evident surprise at its thoroughness. "You've experienced the problem firsthand," one auditor tells Amara during a feedback session. "What do you think is most important to address first?" Amara considers carefully, aware her words carry weight beyond her years. "Accountability at all levels, clear reporting mechanisms that people actually trust, and ongoing education, not just one-time training that everyone forgets after checking the box." The auditor nods, making notes. "You're describing cultural change, not just policy change." "Exactly," Amara confirms. "One doesn't work without the other." Back at the licensing hearing, the board delivers its decision after a brief deliberation. Blackwell's teaching license is suspended for 1 year, with reinstatement contingent upon completing extensive equity and inclusion training certified by the state. Additionally, the case documentation will remain in his permanent file, visible to any future employers. Blackwell's face hardens as the verdict is read. The suspension essentially ends his career in education. No prestigious school will touch him with this record, and he considers anything less beneath him. Outside the hearing room, a local education reporter approaches him. "Mr. Blackwell, do you have any comment on the board's decision?" His bitter response comes without calculation. "This is what happens when schools prioritize feelings over standards. They're sacrificing academic excellence on the altar of political correctness." The quote appears in next morning's paper and spreads quickly online. Several schools that might have considered him for future positions quietly remove his resume from consideration. That evening, Amara receives an unexpected message on social media from Blackwell's daughter, a college sophomore. "I'm sorry for what my father did. I've tried to tell him for years that his views were harmful. Maybe now he'll finally listen." Amara shows the message to her parents at dinner. Dr. James Taylor sighs heavily. "Families are complicated. She shouldn't feel responsible for his actions." "No," Amara agrees, "but it makes me realize how many people are affected by all this. It's not just about students versus teachers or right versus wrong. Real people's lives change in all directions." The family sits with this complexity, recognizing that even justified consequences create ripple effects beyond their intention or control. While Blackwell faces the consequences of his actions, Westfield faces a more difficult challenge becoming what it claims to be. 6 months after Blackwell's departure, Westfield Academy's main hall buzzes with unusual energy. Educators from 37 schools across the state navigate between workshop sessions at a conference titled Building Truly Inclusive School Communities. Name badges display prestigious institutions and neighborhood schools alike, all drawn by Westfield's dramatic transformation. Dr. James Taylor stands at the podium in the packed auditorium, his opening address setting the tone. Our journey began with a painful incident, he acknowledges, but it's grown into something much more meaningful. We're not perfect. Transformation is a process, not an event, but we're committed to that process. Behind him, a presentation displays Westfield's implemented changes, a new anonymous reporting system for bias incidents with transparent tracking and mandatory follow-up procedures, revised hiring practices, prioritizing diverse candidate pools and equity-focused interview questions, monthly analysis of disciplinary data to identify and address disparities, student-led diversity initiatives with dedicated funding and administrative support, mandatory ongoing cultural competency training for all staff, including board members. The final bullet point reads, regular community feedback with published responses. Accountability in its most tangible form. In a packed classroom down the hall, Amara, now a junior, leads a student panel discussing their experiences and recommendations. Her poise and insight draw murmurs of approval from the attending educators. The most important thing we've learned, she tells the audience, is that having good intentions isn't enough. Systems need to be designed with everyone in mind from the beginning. When we retrofit inclusion onto existing structures, the patches always show. Several principals furiously take notes, recognizing wisdom that transcends her 16 years. After the panel, Ms. Winters, the teacher who witnessed the original incident with Blackwell, approaches Amara in the hallway. "You know," she admits quietly, "I still regret not speaking up that day. I was afraid of conflict." Amara nods, understanding. That's why we need systems that don't rely on individual courage. Speaking up should be the expected response, not the exceptional one. Ms. Winters straightens slightly. I've been thinking about that ever since. It's changing how I teach. News of Westfield's reforms spreads through educational networks. 3 other elite institutions reach out to Dr. Taylor requesting guidance on conducting their own equity audits. The State Education Department incorporates elements of Westfield's new policies into their recommendations for all schools. Not everyone embraces these changes. A vocal minority of alumni withhold donations, claiming the school has become too political. Their letters use coded language about declining standards and mission drift. A small group of parents transfer their children to more traditional institutions. But applications for the following academic year increase by 15%, with many families specifically citing the school's commitment to inclusion as their reason for applying. Faculty retention improves as teachers report greater job satisfaction in the transformed culture. At a board meeting reviewing these metrics, Ms. Abernathy shares an observation. The people who left wanted Westfield to be exclusive. That was the point for them. The people joining us want excellence that includes everyone. That's a fundamental difference in values. Dr. Taylor nods. And it clarifies who we actually are as an institution. Sometimes you don't know your true values until they're tested. Westfield has begun a transformation, but what impact will this experience have on Amara's future beyond these hallowed halls? 1 year after the confrontation that changed everything, Amara sits in her father's office, helping organize materials for Westfield's 2nd annual Inclusion Conference. Late afternoon sunlight slants through tall windows, casting golden rectangles across the polished floor. "Have you decided where you're applying for college?" Dr. Taylor asks, sorting through presentation notes. Amara slides her laptop around to show him her meticulously researched list. It includes several schools with strong pre-law undergraduate programs leading to law degrees. "I'm thinking about education law, focusing on equity issues." Dr. Taylor smiles with quiet pride. Sounds like someone I know. Mom's been a big influence, Amara admits, organizing a stack of folders. But so have you. She pauses, considering. And honestly, so has Mr. Blackwell, in a way I don't think he intended. They fall into comfortable silence, father and daughter united by purpose. What began as a humiliating confrontation has crystallized into something transformative, not just for Westfield, but for Amara's understanding of her own path forward. Dr. Lena Taylor arrives with a bag of takeout dinner, knowing they'll be working late. The family gathers around the small conference table in the corner of the office. The hardest part, Dr. James Taylor admits between bites, was recognizing that even as principal, I hadn't seen the full extent of the problems in my own school. It took something happening to my daughter to really open my eyes. That's how privilege works, Dr. Lena observes, passing napkins. Issues become visible when they affect us personally. Amara shares news from Olivia, who now leads a peer mentoring program for incoming students of color. She said she found her voice after watching me stand up to Blackwell. Now she's helping others find theirs. Outside the office window, they watch students crossing the quad. The demographic makeup hasn't changed dramatically. Institutional change takes years, but the quality of interactions has shifted. Students from different backgrounds move through campus with new confidence, laughing and talking across previously invisible barriers. Remember that faculty meeting last week? Dr. Taylor asks his wife. When Professor Matthews challenged the new discipline approach? Dr. Lena nods. And 3 teachers immediately spoke up with data showing it's working better? That wouldn't have happened a year ago, he confirms. The culture is actually changing. As they prepare to leave for a college visit the next day, Amara passes Blackwell's former office, now occupied by Ms. Rivera, Westfield's new Director of Equity and Inclusion, a position created in the aftermath of last year's events. The office light still burns as Ms. Rivera reviews reports with the dedication of someone who understands the stakes of her work. You know what I've learned from all this? Amara says to her parents as they walk to the parking lot. Speaking truth to power is important, but changing the systems that give some people power over others, that's the real work. Her mother squeezes her shoulder with understanding. That's why representation matters, not just for its own sake, but because different perspectives see different problems and different solutions. Amara looks back at the imposing facade of Westfield Academy, its century-old stone glowing warmly in the setting sun. The building remains the same, but what happens inside has begun a profound transformation. One voice can start the change, she reflects, but it takes a community to sustain it. True change happens not when we punish individual bias, but when we transform the systems that allow it to thrive. If you've been moved by Amara's powerful journey from discrimination to transformation, don't keep it to yourself. This is just one of many compelling stories of justice and personal triumph we share at Beat Story. Did this story resonate with your own experiences? Are you hungry for more tales of everyday heroes standing up against injustice and creating real change? Hit that subscribe button right now to join our community of story lovers who believe in the power of narratives to transform our world. Each week, we bring you authentic, emotionally charged stories that will leave you thinking long after they end. Like this video to help it reach others who need to hear this message. Share it with someone who's fighting for change in their own community.